All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. 365, we making a plays. You talking the game, get you through the days. We're high in the court, the dime in the lane. Variety topics, living the same. All presentation, sports information. In the airways, taking the nation. All sport, all plays, they working your faces. Grace at the field, so tie the laces. All sports, all plays.
Hello, world. I'm Joe McDonald. This is the Hoosier Huddle. Welcome this Friday evening. I'm your host for tonight since Mr. Tony Collinsworth is busy. I was called into duty. I'm the assistant to the assistant janitor, so this is a big promotion for me. I'm very excited. I'm joined, as I was last time we were on, with Mr. Aman Patel. Aman, how are you doing today, sir?
Doing good. Looking forward to a great weekend in football. The Celtics did not pan out, so I gotta move forward to the Patriots.
That's on another show. This is football. We don't worry about the football here. That's another sport. We push that to the side. We're here to talk about football. A lot of the stories going on in professional football, obviously, we'll get to. And at the end, we're going to try and touch a little bit on the national championship game. But Aman, we have so much news. I'm sure you covered a lot of this morning, as I've seen you everywhere on the network, on the morning show with our good pal Pride, who's running things for us tonight. The Antonio Brown situation looked to basically be over when the Bucs cut him. And then it wasn't. Antonio Brown decided to go onto a podcast. I think it was the Send It All podcast, if I'm not mistaken, and basically air every bit of dirty laundry that he's gathered over the past year and a half. Aman, give us an insight to what your feelings were, what you saw from the Antonio Brown situation with this. It's been covered to death, all the stuff about the back and forth between the ankle injury, the mental health, stuff like that. With this podcast appearance specifically, what was your takeaway from it?
I was honestly quite shocked when I saw what he said on the Full Send podcast, because it was really the comments about Tom Brady that really pushed me over the edge. And I get it. I'm a fanboy, whatever you can say, but Tom Brady's the only reason Antonio Brown's in the league. If we're going to keep it a buck, he's the only reason he's in the league. Bruce didn't want him. Jason Light didn't want him, but they said, you know what, Tom, he's your guy. We're going to make it work for you. Tom moved him into his house, and he made sure that Antonio Brown was completely straight and clear. And he didn't play for 8 weeks in his first year at Tampa, right? Came in, and then he became suspended. Exactly. Suspended. Couldn't do anything. And as soon as he got in, remember, this team had Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, 2 Pro Bowl receivers. They took a backseat to Antonio Brown. He had the second most receptions when he came back, and had the most receiving yards on the team since he came back in that 2020 season. So they took a backseat for him. Tom Brady made sure that he was a focal point of an offense. Tom Brady's the reason he has a ring on his finger. And now he says, Tom Brady's my friend. Why? Because I'm a good football player. He needs me to play football. When this whole thing happened, and it was all very fresh, Tom coming off a big-time win, said the only thing he said about Antonio Brown, that said nothing bitter. Just came out and said, I hope he's doing all right. I hope he gets the help he needs. I hope the right people are around him, and we send him love. And for AB to come and say this, it's just unbelievable.
And a lot of people took that, and that's where the mental health angle came into this whenever he said he'd get all the help he needs. I mean, he may have been talking about physically. I doubt it. I think a lot of people, fair or unfair, jump to the assumption of mental health. I want to put that aside because his lawyer basically discredited that with the statement 2 nights ago. Freddie read that live when we were on the show talking about that. So we discussed that ad nauseum. But, yeah, the comment specifically regarding Tom Brady and Bruce Arians and Jason Light coming out, and basically, like, Jason Light called up Adam Schefter and basically faxed him a memo and said, put this out as a series of tweets. AB and his agent came and said, we want the bonus money to be guaranteed. We don't want it incentivized. We want this, we want that. And they were like, no, we're not doing it. Again, what this came down to a guy who has money issues and has an emotional maturity issue. And when those two things collide, they're not good. Because when you tell your kids that they can't have certain toys because they're too expensive, that's when they throw the fits in the store. It's not because you didn't buy them a lollipop. It's because you didn't buy them the G.I. Joe with the Kung Fu grip. I mean, let's just call it what it is. And that really seems to be the biggest situation out of this. Again, the ankle, the sideline fight, the locker room, he never said anything. We don't know how much of that is true. But now we know out of Antonio Brown's words that he has no loyalty to anybody at all. He doesn't have it to his teammates. clearly he didn't have it in Pittsburgh in the end. He didn't have it at the Raiders. He didn't have it in New England. He clearly didn't have it in Tampa Bay. Like you said, Tom Brady, stand-up person for him. Good or bad decision. Hindsight being 2020, probably not the best choice. It doesn't matter. The team that stood by him when he faked the vaccination card stood by him, let him come back. All the things. And it just, again, he has no loyalty. The Brady stuff is so weird. Yeah. So weird. Like, I just, again, I want to ask you, what was your just gut reaction when you saw that? Because again, as a New England fan, clearly from the back, you have a Brady, sign up there. But like on a scale of 1 to 10, on the craziness scale, what was this to you?
It was very high up there. And again, it's just like more shocked than crazy. You're just sitting here. How did this happen? Because again, when he was throwing you the ball, nothing bad came out of your mouth. And again, he's the only reason you're here. It's not like you had your options and you chose to play with Tom Brady. Mm-hmm. Tom Brady said, I want you to be here. And so badly, you can move into my house here in Tampa. I know I'm renting it, but you're going to move in, live with me. And
he did it in New England too.
Yeah. Like he's been your guy since you were basically forced out of Pittsburgh, since Vegas released you because you wanted your way out. When Bill Belichick and Robert Kraft didn't want you, Tom Brady said, no, I'm going to make it work with you. And again, he's presented no bitter feelings towards him. AB unfollowed him on Instagram. Brady still follows him. Again, I don't know how much stock we take into that, but it's just a mind-boggling situation because it's like, what is going on?
Yeah, I mean, the network is obviously watching. Big Brother always watching us. It's like he doesn't want to say I deserve some blame. He doesn't. He clearly thinks he's not in the wrong when it comes to any of this. Oh, Tom Brady only wanted me because I'm a good ball player. I don't see you hitching your wagon to Colt McCoy. I don't see you hitching your wagon to Kirk Cousins or to Jimmy Garoppolo. You're not banging on their door asking for a place to stay. You're not going out to San Francisco. I mean, come on, let's call this what it is. Both guys had a relationship that was beneficial to the other. Tom Brady wanted AB because he's another receiving threat, and Tom loves options. And AB needed Tom Brady because he, at the time, was a 6-time Super Bowl winning champ and had carte blanche in the league. Yeah, to Joe's point, AB is only cool with Tom because he's a great QB. Exactly. He ain't hanging out with bums.
It's not like he's going with Nathan Peterman to the club. You know what I mean? Like
Peterman's my guy. I stick by Peterman. Like it's no. And John, again, we talked about this the other night on Keeping It Real and stuff. Like it was just mental health to me is something that we can't diagnose. I can't look at Amon and say, Amon, I'm telling you, man, I think you have some issues. Amon has to make that decision. Amon can't look at me and say the same thing. Even if there's all the red flags, it is a self-diagnosis that you have to ask for treatment. And to this point, AB and his lawyers and attorneys and friends have made it very clear. His mental health, on point. We're good to go. There's nothing wrong. This is all about the ankle. This is all about people keeping AB down. It's just a really sad, unfortunate situation. Now, hey, boss. Hey, Freddie. Now, he was not claimed on waivers today, which was basically to be expected. So no team claimed him. So he is a free agent. He is free to sign anywhere. Now, I don't think he's obviously going to get signed because his waiver claim was at the veteran minimum. He was on a minimum contract. So really, the only way a team signs him is if he has no incentives, which is basically how it would be because you only have 1 week left of the season. Like, unless you're going to give the guy $1 million bonus for one catch, which not quite sure that's going to happen.
Yeah.
But to me, Amon, I want to ask you this because, again, this has been talked about all across the network, all across the major networks. Do you think he's going to play next season? And if he does, what is a team that you think makes sense for AB?
He wants to play, right? He said it on the Full Send podcast. He wants to go and play. But I don't think I would take a chance on him as a team. And I don't think many teams will take a chance on him because, again, there's this quote that comes to mind, and I have it written down over here. And it says, our reaction to a situation literally has the power to change the situation itself. We will never know the truth about if AB told Bruce that his ankle. We can speculate all we want. We can hear all the reports both ways. There's always going to be conflicting. But what we do know is AB took off his jersey, took off his undershirt, threw his gloves and shirt into the crowd, jumped around, danced around in the end zone, and walked off the field. I don't think teams are going to want to do that. And again, I think to Pride's point, they might just want to let the dust settle a little bit because talent ultimately prevails. But for someone who keeps just finding ways to mess things up, keep breaking relationships, I'm not sure if a team, unless you're in a real desperate situation, goes out there and takes a chance on Antonio Brown.
I think he will play next year. Now, how many games? That's the more interesting thing. 17 games over or under. I think you put it like 6 games, and we'll go from there. But I don't know if there's a specific team, but there is a specific player. And this is one of the teams that was rumored to be interested in him. I think if Aaron Rodgers is traded, we could see Antonio Brown being a midseason acquisition for that team. I think if he goes to a place like the Broncos, who have to give up a bunch of assets, if the Giants want to make a big play, or the Washington football team, or there's a few, the Raiders have apparently been sniffing around. Like, if he goes to one of those teams and it gets partway through the season and Rodgers is like, hey, I just don't have the horses. I don't have a Devontae Adams. I don't have these players. Could I see him calling up AB? Sure. I mean, if there's a guy who gives no Fs, isn't it Aaron Rodgers? Like, whatever, man. I'll throw you the ball. That's cool. Yeah. So it's AB told me Green Bay is the move. Again, a lot of people thought maybe Green Bay would put a claim in for him. John Monroe says, as being a Cowboys fan, I really hope Jerry Jones brings him to Dallas. Jerry Jones does some crazy stuff. Again, that's very true, John. I just think at this point, this late in the season, it's a well-oiled machine for most of these teams. You're not going to bring him in now. Now, if Devontae Adams were to get hurt in the last game, if a CeeDee Lamb gets hurt in the last game, sure, maybe. So, again, will Rodgers want to deal with AB? Rodgers doesn't want to deal with anybody. To him, he doesn't lose any sleep. He doesn't care what people think. We'll talk about that later. Let's move on to the next topic. We know it's Week 18 for the first time in the NFL history. Week 18 in the regular season, the 17th game. A lot of the playoff spots have been locked in positions. We know, obviously, the number 1 seed in the NFC is Green Bay. Tennessee can lock up the number 1 seed in the AFC. Some positioning can be done, but there's not really a mom without a hat. It is frightening. I didn't recognize it at first. But there are a few games that are definitely the most interesting. We know there's players out, whether it's COVID, injury, not playing for anything. Amon, I want to ask you, do you have a couple games that if I don't know if you have Sunday ticket, but what are the games you're keeping your eye on the most this Saturday and Sunday?
Well, obviously, number 1, Patriots and Dolphins. We win that one, we secure number 5 at least. And if Buffalo loses to New York, there's number 4. Do I expect that to happen? Not really, but hey, this season's been unbelievably crazy. But then the 2 games that kind of go hand in hand, they can't get the number 1 seed, but everyone got to lose. So we need miracle on top of miracle on top of miracle on top of miracle. But there's 2 games that kind of go hand in hand: the Colts, Jaguars, and the Chargers versus Raiders. And Nate brought up a good point earlier this morning where he said that the last couple of times that the Colts and the Jaguars have met at the end of the season, the Jaguars have always won. Last year, the last game between the 2 were the Colts and the Jaguars, and the Jaguars, that was the only win of the year. So you still look at sin there. If the Colts lose that game, Pride brought it up. The Chargers and Raiders, and Dustin's brought this up as well, could virtually knee every single play, have it end in a draw, and they'd both make the playoffs. So those 2 games are intriguing. Again, none of that matters if the Colts handle business like they should and get a win. But those 3 games probably the 3 most intriguing for me.
San Francisco Rams is highly intriguing, especially now with the news that Jimmy Garoppolo might be back and actually get in that game. This is a game for the division. If the Rams lose and Arizona wins, Arizona gets the division. San Francisco is trying to win and get in the playoffs. So the NFC West is a real cluster right now with how much can change. We just assumed, for the longest time, the Cardinals are going to win the division. All of a sudden, they take a few steps back. And then the Rams step up, and it's like, they're going to walk away with it. And then Matt Stafford looks like he's living in Detroit all of a sudden. And now San Francisco catches fire with all their injuries, and it's like, they might have a chance at the playoffs. So that, to me, is another game that's really, really intriguing, is that Rams 49ers game. Another one, I mean, again, you said it, Indianapolis at Jacksonville. I'm actually interested in that Jets-Buffalo game, and not just for my Patriots fan. If you can see, I'm wearing my Patriots pullover right here. This side right here, which is always nice. But the Jets have actually played pretty well the last 4 to 5 weeks. They've been in some games. They've been competitive. The defense has played a little bit better. Obviously, rookie quarterback, first-year head coach. It's been a mess. I get that. But this was a team that was up double digits on the Bucs. If the Bills mess around, if Josh Allen throws another 3 picks and they don't get the running game going like they did last week, I mean, we saw Buffalo lose a really dumb game 9-6 against Jacksonville. Is it out of the realm of possibility if the Jets look at this? I mean, and you can say the exact same thing for Miami. You said it, Amon. you have a chance to screw over your division rival on the last game of the year. The Jets, they've got nothing to play for. Nothing. Like, you're going to throw everything. The kitchen sink is going right at Buffalo. Wouldn't it be the most 2021 season thing if both the Bills and the Patriots lost? Like, wouldn't that just kind of surmise this season?
That'd just be the icing on the cake, basically. It wouldn't affect playoff seeding too much, but yeah, just be the icing on the cake because Miami and New York, they have, again, like you said, nothing to play for. Miami eliminated last week. New York been eliminated basically since the schedules came out. So, they, again, both sides just can throw everything they can. I'm sure the Dolphins want to answer some questions. They want to go 2 up on New England. They won the first game against New England. Now they're going to come at home to end the season. I'm sure they want to end it on a high and see where Tua's at. I'm sure Tua's hungry. And then Wilson, to his credit, has played better the past couple of weeks. Hasn't turned it over as much. They've looked a little bit more fluent. They have enough defensive players that if they're not turning it over consistently, they can hang around in games. Again, if Josh Allen, like you said, throws another 3 picks, we could be looking at another upset.
Zach Wilson is finally doing the thing, and I shouldn't say he is, but the team is finally doing the thing that Zach Wilson was known for going into the draft, being a freak athlete. Like, we saw that 50-yard plus run just a few weeks ago. Like, he's raw. He's not going to make we saw when he played New England the first time this year, he's standing in the pocket, he's forcing the ball, and the ball's getting picked. That's not what a rookie quarterback like that is going to be. He looked like Josh Allen did in his first year. But when he's able to move around and make these plays and these kind of just, I call them just oops plays, because that run was not a designed, long touchdown run. It's oops. It's like, oh, no, it actually works. So he, like you said, he is playing better, but that's what happens the more you play. Like, let's just face it. He's been the starter from day one. He was going to go in there. He was going to make a bunch of mistakes. The Jets were going to be bad. They had 2 first-round picks coming, one from Seattle and one of their own. So they're looking to rebuild. But again, like, could they give Buffalo a shot? Like I said on my podcast, I was talking to my co-host who's a Bills fan. I said, if this game was within 1 score late in the third quarter, I'm not shocked. Like, I'm not. Buffalo, they're going to try and get a lead and hold on to it, but they've got to play the next week. Buffalo cannot get the number 1 seed. Like, there's no way. So they're playing. So they're not going to be dumb and go out there and try and hurt Josh Allen or Stephon Diggs or any of these guys.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. We referenced it earlier. We have to talk about it. What happened between Aaron Rodgers and the reporter from Chicago? If you don't know, the NFL MVP is going to get decided here real soon, and some people have a lot of opinions on it. And one of them was the journalist out of Chicago. Do you know how to pronounce his name? Because I haven't heard it actually spoken yet.
No, Arkush is my best guess, but like I haven't.
Arkush. Yeah. I think it's Arkush. So he goes on a radio show, I believe it was, or podcast. Really, what's the difference nowadays? It basically said that Aaron Rodgers is not going to get his MVP vote. He decided this in the summer because he is, quote, the biggest jerk in the league, a horrible teammate, and all these things. That's his opinion, and he's entitled to it. Aaron Rodgers then went on the Pat McAfee show, as he does every week, and said that this guy is a bum, and said that he should have his MVP vote taken away. And basically, they each had their personal barbs at each other. I want to get your opinion on that, and then I want to follow up with this question. Do you think that the MVP voting in the NFL, which is 100% journalists that I'm aware of, it's AP voters, I believe.
Yep.
50 journalists. Do you think that we need to change it? And if so, how would you change it? But to the first question, what's your reaction of this kind of back and forth between Rodgers and Arkush?
Well, as soon as I saw the quotes come out from Arkush, I wasn't surprised Aaron was going to come. I said, all right, I'm watching the Pat McAfee show on Monday morning because I know he's coming on. You always know he's coming on every week. That's the one thing he'll commit to. And
yep.
I was ready to hear it. Look, it's just wild that Hub comes out here and says this stuff. I get it. You're a Bears fan, and he's owned you since he's come into the league, and you don't have to
reminded you too.
Yeah, exactly. He reminded you. Yeah, and that might have played a factor in it. I don't know, but it's mind-boggling, to be honest. It's truly mind-boggling. Look, I get it. You don't like that. He lied to the media that he said he's immunized and didn't really clarify and didn't really follow the protocol and kind of got away from it with a little bit of slap on the wrist and kept it going. And if you're being honest, yeah, it was a little bit of a slap on the wrist for Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, but let's just be real about it. He's playing some of the best football in the league. You just, when it comes to the MVP, it should be about what you're doing on the field and how you impact your locker room, right? And I get it, the offseason troubles, the vaccine issue, but it didn't affect what his teammates thought about him. You think Devontae Adams didn't sign the contract.
At least not
right?
publicly, yeah.
Yeah, no one's come out against him, and it doesn't seem like it's affecting their play on the field. So I think for Hub, it's just like, man, this is just kind of you just being a salty Bears fan at this point, and you just wanting to make a public vendetta against Aaron Rodgers. You just don't want to see him succeed, and it's just like, okay, you're a hater. Like we've seen Max Kellerman, Brady's going to fall off a cliff and stand by for 5 years after he won 3 Super Bowls.
6 years out.
Yeah, right. And you're like, okay, you're just a hater at this point. And now no one's really going to take you seriously. And to be quite frank, no one knew who Hub was before he made this comment. Right. Again, we don't know how to say his name. That's just how much we, you know what I mean? Like no one knows how to say his name correctly. And Aaron Rodgers, when he said he's a bum, I said, that's exactly what Aaron Rodgers would say. That it's exactly what he would say. And he just went on and used some of the intricate words he likes to drop in his interviews or whatever. And again, it was just the most Aaron Rodgers answer. And then to your second question, should it be changed? Yeah, John, you're completely right. They've been getting slaps on the wrist forever. But to your second question, I feel like it's got to, because it's kind of a narrative award almost, right? It's like, okay, this guy's coming to the league and Lamar Jackson, he's revolutionized the game. We're going to give him the MVP unanimously, right? And I'm not saying they're always wrong, but it feels like you need some NFL personnel in there. You can have some journalists, but it just feels like you need, and I don't know how you would do this, but again, some NFL personnel, maybe some general managers or something, just come in there and have a little bit of pull on these votes, because the media knows what sells. They know what don't. And that's why we haven't seen anything but a quarterback win the MVP for years, because running backs and receivers, they don't sell as much as Aaron Rodgers and Matt Ryan and Tom Brady do.
Or any defensive player.
Exactly. You talk about Aaron Donald or J.J. Watt should have won in 2014 when Aaron won it. I will stand by that till I die. You know what I mean? But it's just, it feels like it's almost a narrative award now, and you don't really put much stock into the NFL MVP.
That's very fair. I'd have to run the numbers, but what I'd like to see is every non-active former NFL MVP get a vote. Kind of like the Heisman. If you've won the Heisman, then you vote on the Heisman from that point forward, because most guys don't win it and then go back. It has happened now, but for the longest time, like a sophomore had never won it and stuff. So usually if they won it, they were done after that. There was, Archie Griffin, of course, won 2 in a row. But that's something I'd like to see is former MVP. So if you get again, Peyton Manning now gets a vote. I do think people who cover the sport are very important and intricate into the history of the game and the way that the game is kind of molded for us. We like to do what we're doing here, but we also take our cues from what they do. We all have our favorite people who do this that we look up to, or that we're like, we will never be like that, whether it's Max Kellerman or Skip Bayless or whoever you don't like. It's fine. And if you like those people, that's perfectly fine as well. So I would like to see a nice balance of, like you said, of players. I don't really want anybody active in the league.
Yeah.
I get what you're saying. It's a fair point, but do I trust a Bill Belichick to put forth a true vote? I do, because he is a historian of the game and he respects that. Do I expect Mark Davis? No. Bill O'Brien when he was running the Texans?
Yeah, I see your point.
No,
there, for sure.
So in that regard, I think you still have to be picky and choosy as to who you want in this exclusive club, because, again, Pride said it, MVP isn't a humanitarian award. I'm not looking for it to be a humanitarian award, but I do want people who understand what it's like to play the game, who understand the game, and can break down the game. To me, John Madden, rest in peace. John Madden is somebody who should have gotten an MVP vote since he retired as a coach. That guy, whatever the formula is, whatever, you should vote on the MVP because football. That's fine. If Jim Nance wants an MVP vote, Jim Nance should have one. Jim Nance has been around for long enough. Tony Romo, no, I'm good right now. But Jim Nance, Al Michaels, you get an MVP vote. That's fine. So I do think there's a way that you can do this. Maybe you go from 50 votes, you take off some journalists, you put on former MVPs. Let's make it 64. It's double the amount of teams. Okay, 32 teams, 64 votes get you an MVP. That's the way it is. So again, you have to crunch the numbers and see where it goes, but I do think there's a way to tweak it just a little bit. But like you said, how many people outside of Chicago, I don't know if Mike's watching, maybe he could tell us, how many people knew who Hub Arkush was or Arkush was? I didn't know. I didn't, if they weren't on PTI or Around the Horn or any of the Fox shows or pre-games, I probably don't know who they are. That's fair. But again, both guys were kind of just, this was a cat fight. To me, that's what this was. It was a cat fight.
And I don't think it's going to decide the MVP either. I don't think there's one guy coming out. I think that's what his intention was, but I don't think it is going to. Let's just be real. I think people have their votes. And again, the backlash from this is like, oh, well, maybe I should just kind of distance what he says. So I don't think it's really going to be a deciding factor in if Aaron Rodgers gets the MVP or not.
No, again, going into week 18 with the last game where half the teams in the league aren't playing for anything and guys are already getting surgery and sitting out, if you're not sure who the NFL MVP is right now, what are you doing?
Exactly.
What are you doing? Because we saw Matt Flynn throw 5 touchdowns in the final game of a season and get a contract from the Seahawks. So we all know the last game of the season can mean absolutely nothing in regards to stuff like that. So let's just calm down on holding off on the MVP award. Something else I wanted to bring up. I brought this up in our chat earlier for the All Sports All Play Network, and nobody really took the bait. One person did, Jake did, but nobody took the bait. The Jacksonville Jaguars are 1 loss away, one almost guaranteed loss, unless, of course, they upset the Colts, like you mentioned, from getting the number 1 overall pick again. Now, we know that they have what they believe is their franchise quarterback in Trevor Lawrence. We also know coming into this draft, I'm not a draft expert. At least I don't pretend to be one yet. Maybe you are, or you're pretending to be one.
Maybe. A little bit both.
Okay. There's no consensus number 1 overall guy. I mean, I think most people think it's the D end out of Michigan, Aiden Hutchinson, or is it Thibodeau or Thibodeau out of Oregon?
Yeah, Kayvon Thibodeau.
Okay,
yep.
So those are the 2 guys. But even then, they're not really up to the Mario Williams, up to the Jadeveon Clowney level. They're just like, oh, they're going to be great pros. Well, we think so, but even their college tape is kind of like, okay, it's more of a project.
Yeah.
So I suggested that the Jaguars should call maybe a team like the Minnesota Vikings and offer the number 1 overall pick to like the Minnesota Vikings and say Justin Jefferson for the number 1 overall pick in the draft. And now Jake replied back and said, if I'm Minnesota, I don't. That's fair. But if you're Jacksonville and you have a almost complete franchise history of just not doing this right, shouldn't you start thinking outside the box? Again, I'm looking at some players who are 25 and under. Now, some of these guys are untouchable, but I think you at least make the call.
Yep.
Don't you call San Francisco for Nick Bosa? Don't you call maybe Cleveland for Myles Garrett and say you'll get the number 1 overall pick in the draft? Pride, you hopped on, so apparently you either really hate this idea or really love this idea. What's your take on this, sir?
I like the idea. I just don't know if anybody would actually bite for it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because listen, like, I'm with you. If I'm Jacksonville, I play around with it. Because, I mean, if you think about it, if you can get a guy, like you said, if you can get a young guy, real young guy who's already ready, someone, like you said, Justin Jefferson, to immediately help out Trevor Lawrence immediately, I'm not mad at that idea.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really not. Problem is, who would take the bait? And I don't know any team in the league that has what the Jags would want at the age that they want.
Can I make a suggestion? I want to hear your take on this.
Go ahead.
A name, Marshawn Lattimore, cornerback for the Saints. Now, remember, they're in salary cap hell right now. They're having to juggle money around. They're having to do these funny contracts with Taysom Hill and all this other stuff. Lattimore once paid as a top corner. If you think that nobody in this draft is worth getting, you have a ton of cap space. Lattimore is not going to hit the open market because the Saints are going to do something. They're going to franchise him. They're going to do whatever they need to do. Do you call up the Saints and say, we'll offer you the number 1 overall pick so you have a cheap guy on a cheap contract that you can build your team around? Because Kamara is still fairly young. You don't know your quarterback situation yet. Maybe they draft a quarterback at number 1, even though I don't think there's a quarterback worthy of going number 1. You at least give them the asset. And we're going to take Marshawn Lattimore off your hands, and we're going to pay him a boatload of money. I mean, don't the Saints at least have to talk about it?
It would be perfect for the Saints. I don't think the Jags would do that.
Okay.
I think for them, I think 25 might be too old. I think for the Jags, you might make the for a normal team like the 49ers, for the Patriots, for the Bills, the Vikings, 25 solid age. I think the Jags, and you can even say maybe even Texans to the same extent, 25 might be too old. I think I would be too. If he was 23, I think maybe that would, because again, Saints are in salary cap. They, like you said, they got to make all types of weird, funky contracts. With Taysom Hill to extend him without extending him, giving him the voidable years. So that way, it gives him maneuverability. But I don't know, man.
What about you, Amon?
If I'm the Jags, I keep the pick.
Okay. Only
because, and again, listen, actually, and this is something that a lot of people get mad at when they hear, because I had the idea. I kind of had the same idea you had, at least, entertain it, because it won't hurt. It's not like the number one pick is already a player. You know what I mean? So it's not like you got to rebuild anything. You can, go around, start feeling out. If no one wants it, if it's not what you want, you can, you don't got to do it. But I mean, I would keep it.
Okay. Amon, what's your thoughts on the process? If you were to entertain these thoughts, if you're Jacksonville, who are some players that maybe you target with this?
Yeah. So for me, I think Jacksonville still wants to stay in striking distance up top the order. I think you definitely want to trade this pick, and I think it's a shame for them. There's no quarterback that really stands out, because they could have easily found a way to get 3 first-round picks, trade down, and still get a valuable player. But I think Houston at 3 is interesting to me, because what you can do is you can trade your number 1 overall pick and trade for Laramie Tunsil. Because if you can trade for Laramie Tunsil, again, I know he's a risk a little bit, and the Texans might not want to shop him, and he has a contract, but you got to protect Trevor Lawrence. And then you can sit at 3. The Texans and the Lions probably take Aiden Hutchinson and Kayvon Thibodeau if they're at 1 and 2. But then you're sitting there, Evan Neal, the tackle out of Bama, who is 6'7", 351 pounds. You can get him
with oh my God.
That's what I'm saying. If you can get that trade to work, you give Trevor Lawrence some time. I'm not saying he's going to be back to, oh my God, this is the greatest thing since Andrew Luck, but at least he has some time to sit there and throw. This is the right direction, right? You can go get receivers with your draft capital. You can go get them with your salary cap. But if you can make that trade, that's the trade I look at, because you can still be in striking distance for one of these top players and build yourself this offensive line for Trevor Lawrence.
Okay. I like that. I think there's a little bit of flaw in your thinking there. And again, you're 85% there. I'm going to try and finish the last 15. And if that sounds pretentious, I'm sorry, but I don't care. So I think that if you're Houston and you want to get rid of the Tunsil contracts, because you gave them all that money and you gave up a lot of draft assets to get them, and you're getting the number 1 overall pick, and you're giving them 3 and Tunsil, Jacksonville then has to trade their first rounder the next year. You have to give them something in the future to entice them to give up Tunsil, because Tunsil is still young. He's big money. But I'm not giving you just 2 losses, two spots lost, and a player, and a high-end player at that. Right. So I think Jacksonville would have to dangle their first rounder the year after. Even if you think that improves Jacksonville to a possible playoff team, you're talking in the 14 to 20 range, which still isn't bad. But I think Jacksonville has to include a next year's pick for that, and I think it has to be a 1. I love the way you're going with that. And again, you know the college players a lot better than I do, but that to me, that trade makes sense. But if I'm Jacksonville, I can't believe they're keeping Trent Baalke. I think you need to get somebody in there who just says, listen, the way of old business is over and done with. We need to do this in warp speed. And the way we do that is to make ourselves look dumb in the interest of getting better right away. Like, if you're Jacksonville, people are going to try and poach you. Like they just are. You're the laughing stock. Oh, we're going to do this. We're going to do that, blah, blah, blah. It doesn't matter. Stop it. Call up every team. Figure the best player, 26 and under on every team, call up. Hey, Colts, we're in your division. Number 1 overall pick for Quentin Nelson. No? Okay. Good luck. We'll see you this year twice. Like,
There you go.
just start making the calls, man. Again, and that's how. Again, I even think a Tunsil. There's a great trade right there. Jacksonville trades back 2 spots this year, gives up a first rounder next year. If you think that taking 2 tackles, drafting one, and then getting one, who's already established in the league is the way to go, that improves your offense, which is, again, fair or not, the way a lot of people think is, the future of the NFL. Yeah. Pride, you jump back on in here. You're like Nate, except you hang around a little bit longer. What's up, buddy?
Oh, my bad. My kid was down here, so I had to.
Oh, you're fine.
Yeah, I had to make sure he was all good. This is just the weird part about that whole scenario. Is if we're gonna be honest, would the Jags only want, like, I think the only way they would trade that number 1 pick is in a scenario kind of like what Amon said. You still get a top 5 pick. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? You get something somewhat valuable, and then you still get someone that within that top 5 that you can really build off of. Yeah. And it's outside of the top 5. I don't know whether or not the Jags would even consider it. I don't know, unless you're getting like a massive haul. You know what I mean? Like, you're getting like 3 youngsters. One of them is like a star. One has potential. And then one other third guy who you just want to take to be nice. You know
Carolina
what I mean? Or am I looking at this 6. Or am I looking at it weird?
Well, I understand what you're saying. I mean, what you're talking about is a multiplayer trade. Those usually don't happen. That sounds like a Freddie Henderson trade where, it's the NBA. Like, oh, we're going to give you a ham sandwich for 3 All-Stars. And it's like, well, we're the Lakers. You should take our ham sandwich. It doesn't really happen in the NFL. Sorry, Freddie. I apologize, but I don't care. But I see where you're going with it, though. Again, Amon just brought up Carolina at 6. This is a team that apparently was in the Aaron Rodgers sweepstakes. It was rumored Deshaun Watson was possibly going to go there even this year until they decided against it. We know that they're not afraid to trade for quarterbacks because they traded for Sam Darnold thinking that this year might be different. We just saw the report that Christian McCaffrey, they would entertain offers today for him. What that means, I don't know. That was actually going to be a question. I didn't put it in the synopsis, but a question I was going to ask you guys. While we're talking about that, to shift to that, Christian McCaffrey, the all-purpose running back we know, had an injury concern. I have a team and I have a draft pick in mind in the offseason that I think makes a lot of sense for both. It's a little too high of a draft pick, and I think it's a team that really needs help in other areas. But I want to put my trade out there, see what you guys think, and I want you to put your trades out there. Christian McCaffrey to the Buffalo Bills for a 2nd-round pick. Who says no and why? And give me a better trade.
I think – Amon, go ahead.
I don't mind it. I don't mind the trade because I think Buffalo could use that kind of slot receiver. Like Cole Beasley has been, let's just be real bad with the NFL that he's creating and been kind of inconsistent. But they could use that. And then also, if you put a 3rd back in there, right, you got 3 backs now in Singletary, Moss, and McCaffrey. McCaffrey the only one making real-time money. You can running back by committee. You lessen McCaffrey's load. And you give Josh Allen another option to throw the ball, to throw screens. It makes a lot of sense, Buffalo, because, again, they need a running game. It's just as simple as that if they want to play in Buffalo. And if you could go running back by committee with 3 backs who can definitely carry a load, you cut McCaffrey's touches in the thirds in terms of behind the quarterback. I don't mind that trade at all.
Okay, Pride, what's your thought on that trade?
I don't know if Carolina does a 2nd-round pick.
I'm not giving up a first.
That's the weird limbo situation that Christian McCaffrey is. Mm-hmm. He has a 1st-round talent production, right? Like,
when
that's
he's healthy,
the talent he has, and you hit it on the head. When he's healthy, you can't rely on him to be healthy, so that's gonna bring him down to at best a 2nd. But they're not gonna. I don't know. I don't know if the Panthers would do that. And to be honest, that'll probably be the best they can possibly get for Christian McCaffrey.
It's a late round 2nd.
You know what I mean? Like, I mean, maybe you'll get a 1st if it's, I don't know, Kansas City Chiefs.
No, they just invested in Hilaire. They're not giving up a 1st for McCaffrey.
No, I'm just saying a team in that situation where it'll be a tail end first round
Oh,
pick
yeah.
when that pick won't matter anyway, and that team can just throw that pick away.
Mhm.
I think that's really the only way they'll be able to get it. Outside of that, if I really had to pick a place for Christian McCaffrey, I have two places in mind. Well, I technically have three. One of them is a reach. Minnesota. Only because I want to see him. But the stipulation with this is Adam Thielen needs to be gone.
But again, that's Cook's
stipulation I have.
team. That's Cook and McCaffrey. I heard you guys talking this morning about McCaffrey being a slot guy. He can only do that part-time. Le'Veon Bell could only do it part-time.
Yeah.
I just think he's still going to take
but
too
that's what
many
I'm
hits.
saying, because that's what I'm saying. You could have him do that part-time, and then when Dalvin Cook is kind of on the bench getting his rest. But again, I said that's the one that's a reach.
Okay.
That would
I
be
hope that's
a
the reach. Yeah.
Yes, no, that is a reach. You know what I mean? The one that I think, if it's up to Christian McCaffrey, I go to Tampa.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
If I'm Christian McCaffrey, that's a running back by committee situation.
It's an upgrade of Le'Veon Bell. It's just a younger version of Le'Veon Bell, for being completely honest about it.
But again, that, you know what I mean? That's if I'm him, because again, you're going to get valuable touches, yes, both running and catching. You'll fit fine. And wherever you go, you're going to have to sacrifice touches anyway, because Christian McCaffrey's a smart dude. I'm pretty sure he knows I'm getting hurt too much. But one place I would love to see him, and Amon, you know where I'm going with this. It's just me being biased, bro. Him in New England,
No.
I wouldn't mind it. Because we have depth in that position. Notice what I'm saying, though. Notice how every single team I've named, he would at best be a role player. That's just the fall from grace that this dude is having because he's injured.
Yeah, not for that money.
That's a big issue too. The contract is.
I want to get your thoughts on this. You said you liked the match with Buffalo. Is there another team you could see him going to? Because I want to hurry this up because we want to get to the NCAA championship game. So what's another team you could see him going to or trying to make a play for him?
If Green Bay can say, Aaron, we'll get you CMC and stay. It's going to be one of those reach situations. Like, he wouldn't stay for that, but it's going to be teams trying to make that last call. As Pride was saying, you know what I mean?
There's another team out there, and it's the team that's staring all of us in the face, and nobody has said it yet. It's the Denver Broncos.
Oh, the Broncos.
His dad.
I said that earlier, and I got yelled at.
Well, those people aren't here. They're in bed. You guys get up way too early in the morning and start arguing. You got to ease into it. You got to get on some of these night shows.
I said that there's just too many running backs in town, but it could make a lot of sense if.
Okay, but right now you have Melvin Gordon, who at any time, could just fall off the face of the earth. So even if you bring him in, again, I don't know. I'm losing the running back right now. Is it the guy who Javonte Williams? Javonte Williams. But who knows if he's going to be sustainable or not. But at least if you bring McCaffrey in, his dad's there, local hero, local legend, stuff like that. I think, again, if you're a team looking to make that next step, Denver's looking to make that next step. They're going to try and find a quarterback in the draft, in free agency, in trades. They're doing it. So if you're going to go all in, let's go all in. Like the Joker said, you want to get nuts? Let's get nuts.
But
I think a quarterback has to be there first, though, for them to pull that trigger. They have to get Rodgers or Wilson, and then you pull that trigger. They're not pulling it before they get
out. That's the only stipulation I have with that. That's literally the only stipulation. I think if they get one of those guys, I think the next trade they're doing is Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah. Okay.
And you know what I mean? Like,
let's put a lid on the NFL because we have all that action coming on this weekend. But after that, on Monday night, we have the NCAA, college football, SEC only, invitational, national championship. So if you don't live in Georgia and you don't live in Alabama, how much do you care? All joking aside, this is a rematch, of course, of the SEC championship game. Alabama looking for their 97th title in a row. I think that record might be false, but I'll have to look it up. We'll have to check our researchers.
Seems right.
It seems close. It seems close. I read an amazing stat earlier that of the last 4 meetings between Georgia and Alabama, Georgia has actually been tied or led the game 71% of the time. And they are 0-4 in those games. Yep. That is an incredible stat. Again, My Ohio State Buckeyes aren't in it, so screw the rest of y'all. But that is an incredible stat. Like, if that doesn't get I'm not a stats guy, but if that doesn't get you excited, I don't know what will. Amon, let's start with you because, we are. Who do you think wins and why?
I think Bama gets the win. And I talked about it this morning. Look, I get it. Bama, they're banged up defensively. John Mechie's not going to be there. That Georgia team looks so good in that semifinal game against Michigan, right? They look better than Bama did if you just compare the two games. But Bryce plays good football. I think Nick Saban is really the key here for me, though. I get it. Bryce is the Heisman Trophy, and I've been singing his praises all year. But I think it feels like that Auburn-Alabama game where it was like brutal, low-scoring game. And I think it comes down to the coaching. And when you talk about those 4 games where Georgia's been leading since Kirby Smart's taken over, I can think of those just terrible decisions he made or the way his teams kind of fall once they get the lead. We talk about the 4th down fake punt from the 50-yard line when they're up like 2 scores. They try to do a direct snap to Justin Fields for no reason. We talk about how, they had a big-time lead in the national championship game with Jake Fromm, and they blew it in the second half to Tua Tagovailoa. Every single time something happens. And I just think it's that coaching and that, ability to change up and make those adjustments from Nick Saban that's going to end up being the difference in this game. I think Bama I think it's going to be low scoring. I think 20 points is more than enough to win it, but I got Bama to beat Georgia on Monday night.
Those are all very fair points. My biggest question, again, I'm not going to pretend to know Georgia top to bottom. I'm not going to pretend to know Alabama top to bottom. But here's the question that needs to be asked. And I think a lot of us can answer it by probably the look on our faces when I ask the question. When the buttholes start getting tight and things start getting stressful and the heart rate goes up, who do you trust? Now, that's not an exact science. We know that doesn't always happen. Tom Brady hasn't come through in the clutch all the time. Derek Jeter didn't always get the hit. Wayne Gretzky didn't always score the goal. But we kind of expected it, right? Like, we kind of figured, they're going to figure it out. So when things get tight, as we've seen with Alabama this year, because remember, this was supposed to be a down year. They were not supposed to have a Heisman winning quarterback. They were not supposed to be in the national championship picture. And yet again, here they are with another Heisman winning trophy quarterback with another national championship appearance. So all that aside, old cliche, when the going gets tough, the tough get going. And right now, Alabama has done exactly what they were supposed to do, which was not suck. Pride, who wins the game and why?
So before I even get into it, you said it perfectly. Alabama, let's be honest, they have not been dominating. Let's just call it what it is. You know what I mean? They've looked very human, right? I have Georgia, and I said this morning. I think the winner of this game has already been decided, and the reason I say that is, and it's not this. I don't usually take that cop out because it's a cop out when you say that. Let's just be honest. But the reason why I'm saying it in this
but not me. But
the reason I'm saying it in this instant is because we have to understand something. When Bama beat Georgia, they didn't really beat Georgia. Georgia came out and played sloppy, stupid, undisciplined football. And the only way they would have made the win even any easier is if they didn't show up. That's the only way they would have made that win easier. So the way I'm looking at it is Georgia, they understood something. They got punched in the mouth. They understand, we can't be, we can't be soft. Are they going to use that to their advantage? They got a first-hand scouting report against Bama by playing Bama, right? Is that really gonna play into effect? I think it is. I think Georgia is gonna learn from the mistakes that they made the first time they met, and I think they're gonna use that to try to, I don't want to say put a chink in the armor, but do enough. Like to Amon's point, it's not gonna be 40+ points.
Probably not.
Let's be honest. Yeah. Alabama, they put up 27 against Cincinnati.
Yep.
Yeah. And it was a struggle. Let's be honest. It was a struggle.
Well, that's a lot of time off. People don't consider that. That's almost a month off between playing. Practice is not the same as playing. When these teams get on a roll and they play, some people think momentum isn't a real thing. I tend to think it is when you're playing, even if you're getting lucky. Like listen, we've all been at a basketball court and we're shooting hoops, and all of a sudden we do a turnaround like we're, Michael Jordan or Larry Bird, and it goes in, and we're like, wait a minute. I've never hit that shot before. Let me try exactly. Let's try another one. Now I'm going to hook shot it like Kareem. Holy crap, that's going in. You don't want to stop. You don't want anybody to talk to you. You don't want to stop shooting. And Alabama, the one thing that they've had going for them this year is the fact that while they tripped up against Texas A&M, they didn't have that second loss. They didn't have that one that everybody was waiting for. They were waiting for that second shoe to drop. They were waiting for, we're going to get them out of here. They're going to be gone. We're going to finally be done with them. And they didn't let it happen. They just didn't. This team of Alabama, it's a little unfair to compare. It reminds me a little bit of that New England Super Bowl team against the Rams. It wasn't the best team. They were there maybe because they got a little lucky, maybe because they had some veteran leadership that helped them in tight situations. And again, while I think the Alabama team is the reverse of that, where they're younger and they weren't prepared, with Saban at the head coach and with a few of those players sprinkled through, you can look at it and you're basically going off program muscle memory. We're Alabama. We don't lose these games. We're Alabama. They're Georgia. We don't mess around. So even if we're down 2 scores, relax, guys. We got this. We're not running the ball great. Relax, guys. We got this. The defense giving up some big plays. Relax, guys. We got this. And I think that's the advantage that Alabama has over Georgia going into this game.
Yeah, but one thing we also need to take into consideration, Cincinnati put out a blueprint on how to deal with Bryce Young. You put a little bit of pressure on him, and all of a sudden he looks average. All of a sudden he doesn't look like he deserved the Heisman Trophy. You put a smidgen of pressure, and all of a sudden, though the timing that he usually had, it's disrupted. That pinpoint accuracy that everyone's been screaming about, all of a sudden it's gone. So
to be fair, I think that's most quarterbacks, though, especially college kids.
No.
Come on, Pride.
Not to that extent. Not to that extent. Because this is supposedly the best quarterback in the country. And when you put a little bit of pressure when it's to the point he can smell your breath, and he's getting that nervous that he's missing. I forgot who it was. It was one of his tight ends. He missed a wide open thing it was a quick flat too. Like that basically was the panic route where if things go south, hit that flat. And he overthrew him so bad. And I knew it was going to him because you know how usually when the quarterback goes out of bounds, he just airs it out. So that way you can't say it was intentional grounding. He was going for him.
Right. Yeah.
And he aired it horribly. And the camera looked at him and he's just looking like, huh.
He gave the Eli Manning face.
Yeah.
Or Peyton Manning face, whatever that.
Maybe
it's a crippling affliction known as dumb face.
Right. So maybe Cincinnati. Now, again, I'm not saying it's a definite, but don't be surprised if on second downs you see Georgia come out with a heavy blitz, get down Bryce Young, and all of a sudden it's like 3rd and 15, and then they play coverage or zone, something where like you can get the catch, we don't care, but we're gonna stop it and force a fourth, or hell, maybe we might even see a full blown. Don't be surprised if you see in the gauge 8 on 3rd down. I'm telling you,
Greg will come on and start screaming about it. He's like, get the sticks away from Kirby.
But I'm just saying this Georgia team, they do have the players where they can, put a little bit of pressure. So maybe they do that, maybe not. But offensively, they got to spice it up because if you know what I mean? Like Nick Saban, you got to give him different looks. Because if not, you're in for a long, long night.
And no, you're absolutely right, Pride. On that note, we're going to finish up here. Amon, tell people where they can find you. You're on ASAP. You're on ASAP in the mornings with Pride, the host. Of course, him and his morning maniacs are always coming and going all throughout the day and yelling and screaming and your kids and Nintendos and all kinds of things are get us shut down. But it doesn't matter. Amon, where can people find you if they want to listen to you outside of the ASAP network?
Yeah, I was going to plug one thing in the ASAP Network real quick. Next Friday, Dustin and I will have a show coming out called ASAP Recap, where we just kind of recap some of the best moments across of the sports world from the week. So that'll be happening on Friday, 3 p.m. Eastern time, 2 p.m. Central. Yeah, that's how the time works. It's just always confusing on grid. But outside of that, you can find me. You see my name right there. I'm on Patel Sports News on YouTube or on Spotify. You can hear more of my takes and whatnot across NFL basketball. If you're a cricket fan, you can come in and tune into that as well. If you're in the Raleigh-Durham area, I am on local radio 101.9 FM if you are in town from 10 to 1 every Monday to Friday as well.
Neat. You're a cool guy.
It looks like Joe's a little frozen over there. Oh, now I'm frozen.
I hear you. I hear him loud and clear. I hear him.
Can you hear me?
Oh,
There
yeah.
we go.
We got
There
you.
we go. There we go.
All right. Yeah, that's great, Amon. I listened to your podcast. It's a great podcast. It's awesome. You're on the radio. Again, I mentioned it, Pride. I don't even know how many shows you're on. I think there's 47 shows on the ASAP network. I think you're on 62 of them. I see your face popping up all the time. I see you more than I see my own children. That's how often I see Pride all across Facebook and all across YouTube. So, Pride, please tell everybody where they can find you. If it's not ASAP in the mornings, where else can they find you, sir?
So I've went from 3,971 shows to I had to tone it back. So now I'm on ASAP in the morning every morning with him on. I force him to come whether he likes it or not.
He's actually right through this door over here. So
yeah, if you open that door, you'll see me.
I believe it.
ASAP in the morning, 10 a.m. Eastern time, 9 Central, Monday through Fridays. Tuesdays at 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 Central. We go. I have ASAP Vibes with Amon. You're coming too. I don't care whether or not you like it. That's on Tuesday and Saturday, 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 Central. And then obviously Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, 6 p.m. Eastern time. I got my own podcast, the Prideful Takes podcast. And we literally just babble. That's going to be my new slogan, like babble and just underscored. I'm having underlined, bold, and italicized. So there's no debate whatsoever what I do. But yeah, that's where you guys can find me. Facebook, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. You can find me all there. So
Amon's been here 3 weeks. He's already got like 4 shows lined up. He's getting invited everywhere. I'm just like, hey, are we gonna have a show on Fridays? Can I please share my ugly face with the world? Although it is kind of nice until Pride hopped on to have these nice young clean cut kids, because then I felt like I was beaten in my my beard game the other night, and it was just
who is this? Depressing. Whoever this is, drop your name right now.
No, don't do that.
Is he wrong?
Hey,
I'm just curious.
I'm Joe McDonald. If you want to find me, I have a podcast that's called Out of Bounds with a Z. We talk about the NFL. So a lot of the stuff that I talk about is in reference to that. So very thankful for doing that the last couple of years. Again, this is the All Sports All Plays Network. Go check us out. Freddie has posted the link tree different places, and find us on Twitch, find us on Facebook, on Twitter, on YouTube, on the Roku channel. We have a Roku channel out there, so please go find all the shows. Support all the shows. Again, we have some new shows coming up. We have a all-female show coming up starting Mondays. I think it's at 6, but please go to allsportsallplays.com. You can type it into Facebook, other places. It'll have all the schedule, all the links you could find. There's something for everybody. Basketball, hockey, NASCAR, wrestling, football. I mean, Amon talked about it. I mean, there's all different kinds of shows and podcasts out there on ASAP and for the people on the ASAP network. So please go support those shows and give feedback. I love the Facebook, people commenting. I love when people say, hey guys, great show, all this. It's really great. So definitely support the independent shows and the independent podcast. I'm John McDonald. That's Amon Patel. That is Pride. You guys have a wonderful night. Pride, take us out of here.
Yes, sir.
All sports, all plays. Yeah. All sports, all plays. All sports, all plays. 365, we making a plays. We talking the game, get you through the days. We're high in the court, the dime in the lane. Variety, topics, living the same. All presentation, sports information. Hitting the airways, taking the nation. All sport, all plays, like working your faces. Grace at the field, so tie the laces. All sports, all plays.